The sky above the colony burned with faint orange light, a reflection of fires spreading across the horizon. Wind howled through broken towers. Machines groaned and failed one by one. The air was thick with dust and fear. In the underground shelters, frightened families huddled together, children clinging to their parents as alarms echoed overhead. A weak transmission repeated through static, looping endlessly. "This is Kepler Colony. Please, help us." The message had been playing for 3 days. Each time it grew weaker, like the planet's heartbeat slowly fading away. Far across the void, aboard the massive warship GCS Valiant, Admiral Vexhai of the Galactic Confederation Navy stood on his command deck. The room was filled with a cold blue glow from dozens of tactical screens. Red dots pulsed across the main display, enemy ships, hundreds of them. His tactical officer spoke quietly, afraid to break the tension. "Zaffron Raiders, sir. At least 3 full battle groups. They've surrounded the colony completely." Vexhai's 4 eyes narrowed. He didn't need to ask what that meant. The Zaffrons were not conquerors, they were butchers. They took what they wanted and left behind ash and bones. The colony had over 12,000 civilians, workers, miners, children. And in less than a day they would all be gone. "Estimate on our nearest fleet?" Vexhai asked, his voice low and heavy. 18 hours, Admiral," replied the navigator. Vexhai turned away from the screen, his expression unreadable. 18 hours. Too long. By then there would be nothing left to save. He exhaled slowly, the sound almost a growl. "They're already dead," he whispered. The bridge fell silent. Every officer knew he was right. No one survived when the Zaffrons came. No one. Then, the static of the distress signal suddenly changed. A new voice broke through the noise, clear and calm. "This is Commander Sarah Chin of the Earth Defense Force destroyer HMS Relentless. We received the distress call. We're en route to assist. Estimated arrival, 4 hours." Heads turned across the bridge. Vexhai's tentacles twitched in surprise. Earth Defense Force? Humans were new to the Confederation, barely known outside a few border colonies. Their technology was primitive, their fleet small. Rumors called them reckless, unpredictable, too emotional for the calm politics of the galaxy. But here they were, answering a call that even the Confederation had given up on. Vexhai studied the transmission. The voice was steady, confident. He couldn't decide if that made him respect her, or fear for her. He leaned toward the comm station. "Commander Chin," he said, his tone formal but cold. "I appreciate your offer. But you don't understand the situation. The Zaffrons have over 60 ships and 15,000 warriors. What force are you bringing?" There was a short pause. Only static filled the air for a moment. Then the human voice returned, calm as ever. "1 battalion, Admiral. About 800 soldiers." The bridge fell completely silent. Even the engines seemed to quiet down. Vexhai turned slowly toward his tactical officer. The younger alien's eyes were wide. "Sir, that's suicide." Vexhai said nothing. He simply stared at the comms console. 800 soldiers against 15,000? It wasn't bravery, it was madness. Still, there was something in the human's tone, a certainty, a quiet steel that didn't match the numbers. He tried once more, voice softer now. "Commander, I must advise you to wait for reinforcements. The enemy you face is beyond dangerous. You cannot." But before he could finish, Chen's voice interrupted. "Admiral, with respect, we've dealt with dangerous enemies before. We'll handle this." Then the transmission cut off. For a long moment, the bridge of the Valiant was silent again. No one dared speak. The only sound was the soft hum of the ship's engines. Vexhai stared at the empty screen where the human's face had been. He had seen courage before, soldiers who fought to the end, captains who died for honor, but this felt different. This wasn't pride or desperation. It was conviction. He turned back to the display. The red swarm of Zaffron ships still surrounded Kepler 442b like a tightening fist. But now, another signal appeared, faint, far away, 3 small ships jumping into hyperspace. Vexhai's heart beat faster. The humans were coming. 4 hours later, the long-range sensors of the Valiant detected 3 small vessels exiting hyperspace near Kepler 442b. They were gray, sharp-edged, built for function, human ships. Old technology by Confederation standards, but solid, efficient, designed to survive. They moved into formation, calm, disciplined, unshaken. The Zaffrons noticed them instantly. A wave of enemy ships broke away from the siege, 20 of them, moving fast, weapons armed. Vexhai's officers held their breath. They all knew what was about to happen. 3 small ships against 20 war cruisers, It would be over in seconds. But the humans didn't flee. They didn't even turn. Instead, their ships opened their launch bays. Hundreds of metal pods shot out, burning through the atmosphere like falling stars. Each one carried soldiers, human soldiers, heading straight toward the surface. Vexai leaned forward, whispering to himself, "They're not trying to run." His tactical officer looked confused. "Then what are they doing, sir?" Vexai's voice was quiet but filled with awe. "Maybe that's the point." On his screen, the pods vanished into the clouds of Kepler 442b. The sensors flared with energy. The humans were landing. The ground war had begun. And as Admiral Vexai watched those tiny ships descend into hell, one thought echoed in his mind. The galaxy feared humanity's regular army. But now, it was about to meet their special forces. The planet Kepler 442b shook as the first human drop pods hit the surface. Fire streaked across the sky, hundreds of metal comets tearing through the clouds. Explosions echoed like thunder. The ground trembled beneath the colony's broken streets. In the shelters below, survivors gasped. For a moment they thought the world itself was ending. Then one boy pointed upward, whispering, "They're coming, they're here." From orbit, Admiral Vexai watched the feed in silence. Dozens of cameras tracked the chaos below. Zaffron ships swarmed the human landing zone, firing plasma bolts into the clouds. Yet the humans did not scatter. They fell straight into the heart of the battlefield, as if they had chosen to land inside the storm. Vexai's tactical officer spoke in disbelief. "Admiral, their drop trajectory is suicidal. They're landing right in the center of enemy positions." Vexai narrowed his eyes. "No," he said quietly. "They're landing where the enemy least expects to find survivors. Surface, the battle begins." Commander Sarah Chen stood in the cockpit of her drop pod, body tense as fire streaked across her visor. The pod rattled violently, alarms flashing. Her co-pilot shouted, "Impact in 15 seconds." Chen's hands gripped the controls tighter. Her heart was steady, she'd done this before. Too many times. But this time felt different. These weren't training exercises or simulations. These were people, innocent families, waiting to be saved or wiped out. "All units," she said calmly through the comms, "stay tight. Land secure, move fast. We hit hard and protect the civilians first. That's the mission." Dozens of voices answered in unison. "Yes, Commander." The pod slammed into the ground with a thunderous crash. The hatch blew open, smoke, heat and red light filled the air. Chen stepped out, weapon ready. Her armor gleamed under the flames. She could hear the Zaffron's guttural roars in the distance, the sound of creatures that lived for war. First contact. The first wave of Zaffron soldiers appeared, tall, armored beasts with spiked limbs and glowing eyes. They outnumbered the humans 10 to 1. They expected an easy victory. But the humans moved differently. The special forces spread out like shadows, taking cover behind wrecked vehicles and shattered walls. Their movements were fast, silent, surgical. One Zaffron charged, and fell instantly, a single rifle shot piercing its chest. Another tried to flank, a grenade rolled at its feet before it could react. Within seconds the entire front line was torn apart. Commander Chin gave orders with precision. "Squad Alpha, secure the north tunnel. Bravo, clear the power station. Civilians are priority 1. Her voice was calm, never rushed. Every order brought results. Every motion was part of a plan. The Zaffrons realized too late, they weren't fighting soldiers. They were fighting professionals trained to end wars before they start. Above the battlefield. Aboard the GCS Valiant, Admiral Vexai watched in disbelief. He had seen hundreds of battles, but never one like this. 800 humans against thousands of Zaffrons, and the humans were winning. Not by strength but by precision. Every movement had purpose. Every shot mattered. His bridge crew couldn't look away. One officer whispered, "Admiral, they fight like machines." Vexai shook his head slowly. "No. Machines follow orders. These humans, they adapt. They think." He leaned closer to the screen, voice almost a whisper. "This isn't a suicide mission. This is a message." Inside the colony. Underground, the remaining colonists listened to the battle echoing above them, the sound of explosions, shouts, and then silence. Moments later, the heavy metal doors of their shelter opened. A figure stood in the doorway, covered in ash, armor scorched but unbroken. The blue light of her visor flickered softly. "EDF Special Forces," she said gently. "You're safe now." A woman began to cry. A man fell to his knees in relief. Children stared at the soldiers like heroes from another world. Commander Chen looked around at their faces, fear, exhaustion, hope, and felt a weight in her chest. They weren't soldiers. They were just people who wanted to live. She turned to her second-in-command. Evacuation routes? Blocked by enemy artillery, ma'am. We'll need to clear them manually. She nodded. Then let's do it. No hesitation. No doubt. Just quiet resolve, the kind that defines legends. The turning point. Hours passed. The battle raged across the colony. For every human who fell, 10 Zafrans went with them. The enemy began to falter, confused, angry, afraid. They had never faced a species that fought like this. Humans didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. They adapted. By nightfall, the main Zafran command ship pulled back into orbit. From the Valiant, Admiral Vexhai could see it, the enemy retreating. His communications officer gasped. They're withdrawing, sir. The Zafrans are retreating. Vexhai leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. He could hardly believe it. 800 humans, against 15,000, had done the impossible. The aftermath. The colony burned, but it still stood. Wounded soldiers were treated. Civilians were led to safety. Above the planet, the 3 human ships drifted quietly, scarred but alive. Admiral Vexhai opened a secure channel. Commander Chen's tired face appeared on the screen. Her armor was cracked, her expression calm but weary. Commander, Vexhai said slowly, you just saved 12,000 lives, with 800 soldiers. That wasn't a battle, he added softly. That was a miracle. Chen managed a faint smile. It wasn't a miracle, Admiral. It was training, and a promise to never leave anyone behind. Vexhai stared at her for a long moment, unsure what to say. Then quietly he nodded. The galaxy will remember this, Commander. I'm counting on it, she replied before the transmission cut off. As the HMS Relentless turned toward the stars, Admiral Vexhai looked out from his bridge window. For the first time in years he felt something rare, hope. Because now he understood what the rest of the galaxy would soon learn. The Zafrans feared no one. But now they had a reason to fear Humanit. The quiet after the battle didn't last long. Kepler 442b still burned, black smoke rising like scars across its surface. But for the first time the colony was alive. People were being rescued. Wounded soldiers were carried to shelters. Commander Sarah Chen stood outside the main bunker, helmet under her arm, eyes scanning the blood-red horizon. The sun of Kepler 442b was setting, a dull crimson sphere vanishing behind clouds of ash. Her voice came through the comms, calm and steady. All ground teams, status report. Alpha secured North Sector. Bravo's clearing debris near the comm tower. Charlie assisting civilians. Everything sounded organized, efficient, until a voice cut through the channel. Commander, you need to see this. Look up. The return of the Zafrans. High above the planet, space rippled. New energy signatures appeared on sensors, large, fast, and angry. Admiral Vexhai, still aboard his flagship GCS Valiant, watched in horror as the scanners lit up again. By the stars, more Zafran warships. The tactical officer shouted, 20, no, 30, 50 incoming vessels. They're reinforcing the siege. Vexhai felt his heart sink. The enemy hadn't retreated, they had only gone to regroup. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered. The bridge of the HMS Relentless was quiet, filled with dim blue lights and the hum of power cores. Crew members stood ready at their stations. Commander Chen's voice came through from the surface. Relentless report. Captain Reese, a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm tone, answered. Commander, Zafran reinforcements inbound. They'll reach orbit in 10 minutes. Chen's reply came without hesitation. Then hold the line, Captain. We're not done down here. Reese gave a slight smile. Wouldn't dream of leaving without you. Preparing for war. On board the Relentless the crew moved fast. Gunners loaded plasma batteries. Engineers rerouted energy to shields. The entire ship buzzed with the rhythm of trained precision. No panic, no chaos. Bring all weapons online, Reese ordered. Full power to forward shields. We're not letting them touch that colony. The helmsman's voice trembled slightly. Sir, that's 50 ships against 3. We can't win that fight. Reese looked at the holographic projection of the planet, then at the Zafran fleet moving in like a swarm of locusts. We're not here to win, Ensign. We're here to make them remember us. First contact. Moments later, the darkness of space erupted into light. The first Zafran missiles hit the human formation, blue fire bursting across the void. The Relentless shook violently, alarms flashing red. Shields holding at 70%. The defense officer shouted. Return fire. Reese commanded. Beams of white plasma shot from the Relentless, slicing through the nearest enemy ship. It exploded in a burst of orange and debris. The crew cheered, one down. But the celebration ended as 5 more took its place. The Zaffron fleet opened fire from all sides, trapping the human ships in a deadly storm of energy bolts. The Relentless twisted and rolled, using every ounce of maneuvering thrusters to survive. Vexhi's decision. On the Valiant, Admiral Vexhi watched in disbelief. He had seen entire fleets crushed by the Zaffrons, but the humans fought differently. Even surrounded, they stayed calm. They adapted. Admiral, said his officer, should we move to assist? Vexhi hesitated. His ships were far weaker. If he joined, he would lose everything. But if he didn't, the humans would die alone. He clenched his fists. All available vessels, he ordered, voice rising. Set course for Kepler 442b. We fight beside them. Back on the planet, Commander Chin heard the thunder of distant explosions. Through the smoky sky, she saw flashes of light, the battle in orbit. Her second-in-command approached. Ma'am, the Zaffrons are regrouping on the western ridge. More dropships incoming. Chin nodded. Then we'll meet them head-on. She raised her comm unit. Captain Reese, how long can you hold? Static crackled before Reese's voice came through, strained but firm. Long enough. Just finish your job down there. Chin smiled faintly. Copy that. See you in the sky. She turned to her troops. You heard him. This is our planet now, and no one takes it from us. The soldiers roared in response. Even exhausted, wounded, covered in dust, they still stood tall. The turning point in orbit. In space, the Relentless dove straight into the center of the enemy formation. The move made no tactical sense, unless your goal was chaos. The ship's cannons fired non-stop, each shot targeting weak points in the enemy's armor. 2 Zaffron destroyers exploded within seconds. But the Relentless took hit after hit. Its hull cracked. Flames burst from its engines. Reese stood firm, gripping the command rail. Status. Shields at 30%, sir. Reese nodded slowly. Then we're right where we need to be. He tapped a command on the control screen. Arm the Nova charge. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Sir. That weapon will destroy us too, said the helmsman softly. Reese looked toward the planet below, at the lives they'd saved. Some battles are worth the price. The Relentless lives up to its name. The Relentless powered up, energy readings spiking. The Nova charge, a last resort weapon, began to glow bright white. Zaffron ships detected the surge too late. They tried to pull back, scattering in panic. All hands, brace for impact. Reese shouted. The light expanded, engulfing everything. A moment later, silence. Then, one by one, Zaffron ships began to vanish from the sensors. The Relentless hung in orbit, battered but still there, engines flickering, hull torn apart, but alive. The aftermath. When the dust settled, Admiral Vexhi's fleet finally arrived. They found wreckage everywhere, Zaffron debris floating in the void, and the human ship still holding position. Vexhi opened a channel. Relentless, this is Admiral Vexhi. Do you copy? A weak voice came through the static. This is Captain Reese, mission complete. Vexhi exhaled slowly. You saved an entire world, Captain. No, Admiral, Reese said quietly. We just showed them what humanity means. Closing scene. From the planet's surface, Commander Chen looked up at the night sky. The stars shimmered faintly, but one point of light flickered brighter than the rest. The Relentless. She whispered softly. You did it, Captain. And in that moment, every survivor of Kepler 442b understood. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Because the Relentless had lived up to its name. And the legend of Earth's special forces had just begun. The news spread faster than light. Every galactic channel, every outpost, every listening station repeated the same words. The humans did it. No one believed it at first. A single battalion? 3 ships. Against 60 war vessels of the Zaffron horde? Impossible. But the footage told another story. The evidence. From orbiting satellites and Confederation sensors came real recordings, grainy, chaotic, but undeniable. They showed human soldiers moving through smoke and fire, fearless and coordinated. They showed the Relentless, surrounded and burning, still fighting until the stars went dark around it. Every frame carried one message: humans don't surrender. In the Galactic Council Hall, Deep in the shining capital world of Thalvara, leaders from dozens of species gathered. Holograms flickered over the circular chamber as the footage played again and again. Some watched in silence. Others whispered nervously. The Zaffron delegate slammed his clawed hand on the table. Lies. They cannot have done this. No species could survive such odds. Admiral Vexhai, standing in the center of the room, raised his voice calmly. I was there. I saw it happen. The chamber went quiet. 3 human ships, he continued, entered the battle zone. They fought for the colony. They destroyed the Zaffron fleet. And they did it with precision and purpose. A low murmur swept across the chamber. The Levian ambassador, a shimmering being of light, spoke softly. Why would they risk so much for strangers? Vexhai turned his gaze upward. Because they said it was the right thing to do. Reputation born in fire. Outside the council, the story took on a life of its own. Miners on far colonies began calling the humans, the relentless ones. Soldiers whispered tales about their courage, how one human ship destroyed 50 Zaffron warships. At first it was admiration. Then it became something else, fear. If humans could defeat such a force with so little, what would they do with more? Across the stars, military strategists replayed the battle data. They analyzed the tactics, the timing, the communication. Everywhere they looked, they found the same strange pattern. No hesitation, no retreat, no fear of death. A species that did not fear death was not just dangerous. It was unpredictable. Back on Kepler 442b, Commander Sarah Chen walked through the ruins of the colony. Children played among broken machinery. Civilians built shelters from fallen walls. It was quiet now, peaceful in a way that felt fragile. Her armor was damaged, her voice rough from exhaustion, but her eyes stayed sharp. She stopped beside a small boy helping his mother lift metal scraps. You should rest, Chen said gently. The boy smiled faintly. You saved us. Chen paused, unsure how to respond. She looked at the horizon, where the sun rose again over a battlefield turned graveyard. No, she said finally. We fought beside you. The boy didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Behind her, human soldiers were packing up, ready to leave. Their mission was complete. But deep down, Chen knew this was only the beginning. Admiral Vexhai's realization. Aboard the GCS Valiant, Admiral Vexhai watched from orbit. He replayed the recordings, especially the final transmission from Captain Reese before the explosion. Some battles are worth the price. Those words haunted him. He had served in hundreds of campaigns, but never seen anyone fight like the humans. He turned to his aide. Have our historians found anything about their past? The aide hesitated. Only fragments, sir. Their records mention centuries of conflict on their own world. Wars fought among themselves. Millions lost. Vexhai frowned. They survived that? Yes, Admiral. And somehow they grew stronger. Vexhai looked out the viewport at the silent stars. Then the galaxy should pray they stay our allies. Council debates. Days later, the Galactic Council met again. This time the tone had changed. The Zaffron delegate demanded vengeance. Humans destroyed 50 of our ships. We must respond. Others disagreed. They defended a Confederation colony, said the Levian ambassador. They acted when we did not. Voices rose and fell, accusations flying across the chamber. Finally, the Grand Speaker, an ancient being of pure thought, silenced them all. Enough. His voice echoed through the hall. The humans have proven themselves capable and dangerous. We will watch them closely. He paused, his many eyes flickering toward Admiral Vexhai. Tell us, Admiral, do you believe they are a threat? Vexhai hesitated, the question he had been dreading. He thought of the battlefield, the courage, the sacrifice, the silence after victory. Finally he said, no, not a threat. But if ever they decide to become one, none of us could stop them. A message from Earth. Weeks later, a single transmission reached the Confederation network. It came from Earth itself, simple, direct, and chilling. To the Galactic Confederation, humanity thanks you for your cooperation during the Kepler incident. We are rebuilding the colony and stand ready to assist in future operations. Earth Defense Force out. No threats. No demands. Just confidence and quiet power. The legend begins. In bars and warships across the galaxy, soldiers now told stories of the relentless and Commander Chen. Some said her eyes glowed blue during battle. Others swore the human soldiers could sense each other's thoughts. No one knew the truth, but everyone agreed on one thing. If you ever see humans landing on your planet, pray they're on your side. Final scene. Admiral Vexhai stood alone in his quarters looking at the stars. He whispered softly, almost to himself. They thought humanity's regular army was terrifying. Then came the special forces. The words lingered in the air like prophecy. Outside his window the galaxy turned slowly, vast, beautiful, and now, just a little more afraid. The galaxy had begun to whisper. Every military academy, every commander, every government analyst repeated the same quiet question. Where did the humans learn to fight like that? No one had the answer. And those who tried to find it, disappeared. The inquiry. In the shining towers of Thalvara, the Galactic Council authorized an investigation. Officially, it was to understand human tactical efficiency. Unofficially, it was fear. Admiral Vexhai sat alone in his darkened office when the order came through. He had been expecting it. They want me to go to Earth, he muttered. His aide blinked nervously. That's a death sentence, sir. Humans guard their homeworld with more defenses than any known species. Vexhai stood slowly. Then we'll see if the stories are true. Earth's Sol system. When his ship exited hyperspace, even Vexhai was unprepared. 1,000 satellites scanned his vessel before it could transmit a greeting. Dozens of orbital defense stations locked weapons on his hull. A calm voice came through his comm system. Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Defense Command. State your purpose or you will be escorted out of Sol space. Vexhai responded immediately. This is Admiral Vexhai of the Galactic Confederation. I come on behalf of the Council. We request a meeting. Silence. Then. Transmit your coordinates. You will be guided to a neutral orbit. Do not deviate. The channel closed. The precision, the control, the confidence. Even before he landed, Vexhai understood something vital. Humans didn't posture. They didn't threaten. They simply commanded. The meeting. He was taken to a secure compound beneath the city of Geneva. The air was cold and clean. Human soldiers lined the corridors, expressionless, disciplined, watching every move. Inside a dimly lit chamber, Vexhai finally met her. Director Maya Rourke, head of Earth's Special Forces Division. She extended her hand. Welcome to Earth, Admiral. Her tone was polite but sharp, like a blade covered in silk. Vexhai studied her. She looked ordinary. No armor, no weapons. Just calm eyes that missed nothing. He sat. The Council wants to understand how your forces achieved victory on Kepler 442b. Rourke nodded slightly. You want to know how a small human team destroyed a Zafran armada? Exactly. She smiled faintly. Then you're asking the wrong question. Vexhai frowned. Explain. You should be asking why we were able to do it. Not how. The truth beneath. Rourke turned to a large screen on the wall. It displayed fragments of old videos, training footage, battlefield recordings, medical data. For thousands of years, she said, humans fought each other. Wars, revolutions, endless conflict. We learned every way a life could be taken, and every way it could be saved. Our evolution wasn't biological, it was psychological. She pressed a button. The next video showed soldiers running through storming rain, carrying wounded comrades through fire. Another showed a soldier standing alone against a machine 10 times his size. Courage, Rourke said softly. It's not born. It's trained. It's forced into the bones through pain and loss. She looked back at him. You saw the relentless burn. You saw them fight until nothing was left. That's not bravery. That's history. That's humanity's curse and its gift. Vexhai said nothing for a long moment. And the Special Forces? He asked finally. Rourke's expression hardened. The Special Forces are the ones who survive training designed to break every human instinct except one, to keep moving forward. Rumors in the dark. Weeks later, Vexhai returned to the Council, silent, thoughtful, changed. He gave no classified details, but his final report was short. Earth soldiers are not a product of technology or genetics. They are the result of something older, something we cannot replicate. Their strength comes from suffering, from their past. And if provoked, they will not stop. The report was sealed immediately. But rumors leaked as they always do. Whispers spread of a secret Earth facility buried under the ice of Antarctica. A place where no one came out the same. A place called the Black Range. Elsewhere in the galaxy. Across the galaxy, militaries began training their soldiers in human-style tactics. Small squads, brutal endurance, psychological conditioning. Most failed. Some went mad. The Zafrans tried to create their own special unit, using captured human data. It ended in disaster. Their minds couldn't handle the intensity of human combat logic. Their last recorded words were chilling. They fight like they've already died once. A secret message. Months later, Rourke stood alone in her office beneath Geneva. The stars of the Milky Way shimmered across the holographic window. A private transmission came through, encrypted, untraceable. A single message. They're watching us. No sender. No coordinates. Just those 3 words. Rourke didn't move. She simply whispered, "Let them watch." Then she shut down the system and stared into the dark, calm, steady, unafraid. Final scene. Far away, deep within the Orion Arm, a hidden observation ship recorded every human transmission. Inside, alien officers watched silently, the glow of their monitors reflecting in their eyes. "What do you think?" one asked quietly. The commander didn't answer. He only leaned forward, rewinding the footage of humans training, running through fire, lifting comrades, screaming through pain, and whispered, "If this is what their soldiers are like, I pray we never meet their legends." Outside the ship, the stars of Sol flickered faintly in the distance. A small, unassuming sun that hid the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The stars were silent again. But silence in the galaxy never lasted long. Months after the Battle of Kepler 442b, trade lanes reopened, colonies rebuilt, and the Confederation pretended life had returned to normal. But deep down, everyone knew something had changed. The humans had shown what they could do. Now everyone wanted to know why. The Archive. Aboard the Confederation's Grand Archive on Valira Prime, Admiral Vexhai stood before a sealed chamber marked Class 0, Earth Records. No one had opened it in centuries. Not because it was forbidden, but because the ones who tried never came back. Still, he had to know. He placed his clawed hand on the scanner. Authorization, Vexhai High Command. Requesting access to pre-contact human history. The door slid open with a hiss. Cold mist poured out, and beyond it, 1,000 old screens flickered to life. The footage. What Vexhai saw was not what he expected. There were no alien invasions, no space battles. Instead, humans fighting each other. Endless wars. Cities burning. Nations rising and falling again and again. He watched them fight with sticks, then swords, then machines of metal and fire. He watched them destroy entire continents, then rebuild them with their bare hands. A voice echoed from the archive system. Earth conflict log. Duration, 50,000 years. Status, unresolved. Vexhai whispered, half in awe, half in fear. They've been at war since before they left their planet. The hidden files. Deeper in the archive, he found something stranger. A section labeled, Operation Nemesis, Classified. He opened it. The first document made his blood run cold. In the year 2087, humanity faced an unknown enemy, one not of flesh or metal. Images appeared, giant shadows, energy distortions, creatures that seemed half real, half nightmare. They came from beneath Earth's oceans. The war lasted 12 years. Billions died. The records were erased after the ceasefire. Vexhai stared in disbelief. The humans fought something, on their own world? Another video loaded. Black armored soldiers fought the creatures in fire and storm. One banner appeared on every uniform, a single white symbol, the relentless unit. Then the system's audio changed, crackling as if alive. "We never stopped the war. We only buried it." Return to Earth. Driven by fear and curiosity, Vexhai returned to Earth again. This time he demanded answers. Director Maya Rourke met him in the same underground room. He placed a data crystal on the table. "You fought a war before joining the Confederation," he said quietly. "Not against aliens. Against something else. Why hide it?" Rourke didn't deny it. She only sighed, tired, human, haunted. "Because if the galaxy knew what we fought," she said, "they'd never sleep again." The truth. She dimmed the lights. A hologram filled the room, the same shadowy forms, vast and shifting. "They came from the deep Earth," she said. "From the dark ocean rifts. We called them the abyssals. They fed on energy, on thought, on fear. We tried to destroy them. We failed. So we built a prison around the planet, layers of magnetic fields, orbiting shields, defense networks." She looked straight at him. "You think Earth is a homeworld? It's not. It's a containment zone. We never left Earth because we wanted to explore the stars. We left because we were running." Vexhai felt a chill crawl up his spine. "And the special forces?" he asked. "They're not just soldiers," Rourke said softly. "They're wardens. Every generation they train for a war the galaxy doesn't even know exists." Echoes in the dark. Outside the command bunker, the night sky over Earth shimmered faintly, as if something behind the clouds was watching. Satellite feeds glitched for a moment. Ocean sensors went dark. Then, from somewhere deep beneath the Pacific, a pulse of energy rippled across the globe. Every human ship in orbit powered up automatically. Every weapon came online. The planet itself seemed to wake. Rourke's communicator buzzed. A voice came through, calm but urgent. "Director, we're detecting movement below the trench. The barrier's weakening." Rourke turned back to Vexhai. Her voice was steady. "Now you understand why we train the way we do." The awakening. From the depths, a shape began to rise. Not a ship. Not a creature. Something ancient. Sensors overloaded. Waves crashed against coasts thousands of miles away. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went still. The surface calmed. Only a single message remained on every human channel. "Containment breach, Level 1. Stand by for relentless protocol." The last transmission. Vexhai's ship fled orbit under emergency escort. From space he looked down at Earth, a blue world surrounded by shields of fire and steel. He whispered to his aide. "All this time we thought humans were preparing for war with us. But they were preparing for something far worse." In the distance, Earth's defense grid glowed like a burning halo. The humans were already deploying. Not panicking. Not afraid. Just ready. Epilogue, the Watcher's Note. Weeks later, the Galactic Council received one last encrypted message from Admiral Vexhai before he vanished from records. "Do not interfere with Earth again. They are not conquerors. They are survivors of a war we still cannot comprehend." No one saw him again. But sometimes, late at night, long-range sensors from nearby systems pick up strange signals from the direction of Sol. Pulses like a heartbeat repeating through the dark. Some say it's a communication beacon. Others say it's something older. Whatever it is, one truth echoes across the stars. They thought humanity's regular army was terrifying, then they met the ones who protect the dark.